where things have to change. And I'm comparing this a little bit to my experience in Germany, where the people there still carry, maybe not the younger generation, but certainly the generation, the baby boom generation, their baby boom generation still carries some of the guilt of the Holocaust and all of these things that have gone on, so forth. So that's a vibe in their culture, and as a result of in as much as that's a vibe in their culture, they're very much concerned with right and wrong, or proper treatment of humanity. So we see, and that's the only nation I can speak for. The only nation I've ever really spent any other time in other than the United States. But I do think that there is this vibe. But we have an encouraging vibe in our own culture, because we're recognizing something that we sense is wrong, and that's certainly an encouraging thing.
And maybe that's also the role of the angels, of kind of directing our attention.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Right. Shall we move on to chapter 19, Angels at Birth? This one's a long one, so if nobody wants to read it, I will read it. But volunteers are encouraged, because I don't want to.
I'll read. No problem. You want me to? That's fine with me. Okay. Right. Once when Zechariah was serving as priest before God, and his section was on duty, he was chosen by lot, according to the custom of the priesthood, to enter the sanctuary of the Lord and offer incense. Now at the time of the incense offering, the whole assembly of the people was praying outside. Then there appeared to him an angel of the Lord, standing at the right side of the altar of incense. When Zechariah saw him, he was terrified, and fear overwhelmed him. But the angel said to him, "Do not be afraid, Zechariah, for your prayer has been heard. Your wife Elizabeth will bear you a son, and you will name him John. You will have a joy and gladness, and many will rejoice at his birth. He will be great in the sight of the Lord. He must never drink wine or strong drink. Even before his birth, he will be filled with the Holy Spirit. He will turn many of the people of Israel to the Lord their God. With the spirit and power of Elijah, he will go before him to turn the hearts of the parents to their children, and the disobedient to the wisdom of the righteous, to make ready a people prepared for the Lord." Zechariah said to the angel, "How will I know that this is so? For I am an old man, and my wife is getting on in years." The angel replied, "I am Gabriel. I stand in the presence of God, and I have been sent to you to speak to you and bring you this good news. But now, because you do not believe my words, which will be fulfilled in their time, you will become mute, unable to speak, until this day these things occur."
So she says that Zechariah doubts the news, and in response, the angel makes him mute. And I'm wondering what you think is why he was made mute. I know it was because he doubts the news. But is it like a this is just a personal question for me to understand this better, but is it a punishment, or is it just time to think, or a timeout?
I think it's a sign. It's a sign. People, he goes in for his service, and he comes out and he can't speak, and the people say, "Wow, something happened to him in there," And so I think that it really helps to emphasize the message that came through, even though he can't speak. But when he does, he really is able to convey to people that, yes, I really have seen an angel.
Yeah, I have a comment. The word that keeps coming to my mind is listen. Listening is real important, as we know. Trust. But in this context, listen to the angel, listen to God. in a different context, listen to the Holy Spirit, expect to receive messages. And this event is dramatic. And perhaps, as I think about it, Zechariah was forced to listen so he would learn something.
He didn't trust
Yeah, he didn't trust.
the whole thing.
Yeah.
It reminds me of Abraham and Sarah, similar, they were beyond the age of procreation, but, then God made it possible. And that's why I think he couldn't believe that he would have a child, because they were both elderly.
Mhm.
And then the other thing that comes to my mind is Paul being struck blind on the road to Damascus, where an important sense was taken away from him. The same thing here, an important sense was taken away from him for a time. So
I think it was so that he could learn to trust in God and whatever the angels were saying.
mhm.
It's kind of like a punishment, I would assume. Maybe he could think about it a little longer.
Time to think.
Yep. 9 months to be exact.
Yeah, exactly.
I wonder if it's also a lesson for us then, that when we don't trust, maybe we need to be quiet and listen.
Someone pointed out that I read in the last couple of weeks, the word listen and the word silent contain the exact same letters. So in order to listen, we have to be silent.
Do you, so the author says that she believes that angels are present at birth of every child. And would you all agree with that?
Yes, I would, because if you ever witnessed a birth, there's something very special going on.
I'm sure you're right.
Yeah. I don't know if this is I'm way going off the edge, but I wonder if it's kind of like the angel of death and the angel of life, and then the guardian angels are all together and kind of having a good old time when there's a birth, just because, I mean, really birth is like death and life together.
Well, I would agree. I would agree that anything positive, anything that shows love, and this is not profound, but means that either angels are there, or the Holy Spirit is there, or God is there. We know that, but so I don't know whether there would be angels there or not, but surely God is at every birth, and perhaps angels are there for protection.
So let's move on to the next birth story.
Where are we, by the way?
We're on chapter 20, page 95. And the next reading is from Luke. It says, "And the angel Gabriel came to her and said, 'Greetings, favored one, the Lord is with you.' But she was much perplexed by his words and pondered what sort of greeting this might be. The angel said to her, 'Do not be afraid, Mary, for you have found favor with God.'" And I don't know if you all have your Bibles with you, but do you all have the same wording, the greetings, favored one,
Ave
from
Maria.
Luke 1?
Kathy's getting her Bible.
I know.
Well, all of the Bible quotations in the book are from the NRSV,
Mhm,
the New Revised Standard Version. And that's the same one that we use in church, that
right.
typically is used throughout the Episcopal Church. So if you have a Bible other than the NRSV, and that one's only been around for about, I don't know, since '89, so that's 31 years. Some of us might have a Bible from before 31 years ago, and could have another form.
King James says, "Hail, thou art highly favored. The Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou amongst women." When she saw him, she was troubled at his saying, and then it goes on. So that's kind of almost like the old Hail Mary that Catholics say.
Yeah.
So in this book, she says that Mary was perplexed by these words, and I actually wanted to share a video with you guys. And he's an Episcopal preacher, but he was Catholic before. And let me get it at the right spot, and then I'll see if I can share my screen. And
No, she'll share it.
because he says this much better than I could. Oh, just kidding. It says host disabled. So I'll just tell you what he says, even though I can't say it as nicely. So he says that the translations are different because there is no really good translation, because the word that was used for the greeting was kekaritomine, which actually means one who was perfected in grace and is continuing to be perfected in grace. And so Mary being perplexed, it's for a 14-year-old girl to hear that was probably a little shocking.
Probably.
I think
Because it wasn't like, oh, hey, how are you? Hi, Mary.
I think she was
Malvina,
a little
can
more than
you-
perplexed.
Yeah.
Can you link that in the chat?
Yes, absolutely.
And who is the host?
I think Father Leland.
There is a way to allow access, just for like future reference, to allow access for Malvina or any of us to share our screens.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
You have to set it that way to allow it.
Mhm.
So
Guys,
this
I
is
learned something new.
I sent the link to the video, and it's a long video. The actual part where he says this is minute 11:58. But the whole video is worth watching.
What's his name, Malvina?
His name, I don't know his last name, but they call him Father Jason.
If you look over on the chat, she's put up a hot link for it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, mine appeared for a while, but then it went away.
If
So
you go to the chat, totally, it should be listed right there.
Mm-hmm.
Yep,
On the
it's
bottom.
there on mine. I don't know. Can you copy that and then put it into something? Is that how we can capture it?
Yes.
Okay. So you
So
can.
if anything, I will, I don't have all of your emails. I can just send the link to Father Leland, and he can just send it to you later,
Okay, that's fine.
if that works too. But if you need it, because it's here in the chat.
It's in the chat. If you have a tablet, you can just touch the tablet and go to more on the right-hand side. If you're on a computer, you're
Oh,
different. If you're on, how many are on a
Okay.
tablet? Anybody?
I am.
Okay, well, that's what
I
you would do. You touch your screen, and then you'll have more on the far right. And
You can
Okay,
also
then
do just a YouTube
Chat.
search
And
for
you
the
get
role of
chat.
Mary in the Episcopal Church, and
Okay.
it'll be the first one.
Okay, great. Well,
Okay.
I'm not nearly as erudite as Father Jason, but I read that the Lord is with you, and it says that she was perplexed by his words. And there was a time when I was a much younger person that, and I guess that's backwards. I don't know how to write it backwards. So
No, I see it.
I see
Perfectly.
it fine.
says God is watching. We had some congregants in Phoenix who owned a pool hall. Good Episcopal business to maintain. And, they were going to change the pool hall from being a pool hall into a restaurant, and they invited us a bunch of us after church on a Sunday to come down to the old pool hall and kind of help clean it up and get it ready for painting and stuff. And there was that sign, God is watching you. And I said, oh, I'd really like to have that sign. And somebody said, oh, why do you want that? That's supposed to scare people. You know, it was on the, you know, don't do something wrong while you're in here because God is watching you. And I took it as God is watching over you. Instead of God is watching you, ready to pounce if you make a mistake. I'm wondering if Mary, admittedly, the words are in English and we don't know what they really meant in Hebrew, but the Lord is with you. The Lord is with you because the Lord is upset with you, or gonna grab you up if you do something wrong, or the Lord is with you, you know, there to be help to you, to help you with your burdens. I mean, it really isn't the language as much as it is the perception, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know. I still have that sign, by the way.
Do you use it with Sheila? Do you use it with Sheila?
She actually uses it with me more.
I was gonna say, yeah,
Okay.
probably.
Malvina, I'm anticipating a couple of your questions. One, as we always hear, is do not be afraid, Mary. And I think the author talks about that phrase in numerous places in the Bible, by Jesus or by
Angels
God
always say it.
or angels.
Yeah.
And so, although it's difficult when some strange, huge creature
Yeah.
shows up in the middle of your living room, to not be afraid.
Yeah.
But Mary says, I'm perplexed.
Yeah.
Well, of course, that's not much of a translation. Shocked, scared, frightened,
Yeah.
completely confused.
Yeah.
Those might be more dramatic and more telling
Right.
words, but nonetheless, what did she do? She listened. Zechariah didn't.
That's right.
Yeah.
Do you think the angel was smart enough not to try to silence a woman?
Hey, I like that.
Yeah, good for him.
Well, I didn't think angels had genders.
Yeah, that's right.
Whoa, good point.
Well, they're all male names.
Yeah.
Well, we
Well,
can just call
the
him
ones-
Gabby from now on. Just call him Gabby or Mikey or
Gabrielle,
something like that.
Mariah, you know, they're all.
Well, I think in the very beginning of the book, she, in the intro, that's what she says. She says that where they're referred as male, she'll call them male. Otherwise, she'll switch back and forth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, she says, but if the gender is not specified, I will alternate between male and female. The neuter pronoun doesn't work for me simply because angels are so alive and are not inanimate objects.
Yeah.
Very good.
I remember reading that.
So the next one is actually the art feature of the Annunciation. And I have the same question I always do for these ones is which one do you like or not like? And why?
Here's one.
Well, I'll tell you one thing I thought and wanted to share. I looked at all these apparent different mosaics or pictures or paintings or whatever, and I said, those are too busy. How can I possibly understand? At least an angel and Mary were
This was
consistent, I think, in all of them. But poor me, how can I figure out, oh, that's a vase. That means the Trinity. Oh, come on.
I
Yeah.
know.
Who knows that?
The one on page 103 is easy. I mean,
Yeah.
that one's easy to figure out.
Yeah.
But the rest of them, you're right. If someone wasn't telling me what they said, I would not have a clue.
Yeah.
No clue.
Yeah, me too. But I like art, but I think I'm not that great at analyzing it and figuring
No.
it out.
Yeah.
It has to
I-
be
I
kind of
don't
in my
see
face.
Symbolism has been lost, you know, but when
Yeah.
you go to an art gallery, if they walk you around these old paintings and, you know, they say like, oh, this is a vase of flowers. Okay, well, each flower means something. If it's daisies, it means something.
Yeah.
If it's poppies, it means something. And, you know, and every little thing in a painting means something. And I think back in 1500, when that painting was done, those people knew that stuff. You know, they didn't read, but they knew all this things about imaging. But, you know, it's all kind of lost now. We don't really know that, all the translation of what's in a painting and what it all means.
Good
And
point.
the picture only means something, whatever the picture means to me, it doesn't mean to you or to Ted or to someone else. It's all in the perception of how you see it.
Sure.
But when I read what she says about it, it's fascinating to look at it in that fashion, because I never would have gotten those things. I think it's really nice to have somebody tell you what the painting is.
Yeah, and like what the artist, I mean, for me, what the artist was trying to convey isn't always what I get from it. And sometimes I hear what the author says and I'm like, oh, you are wrong. That is not what your painting means.
Yeah, exactly. It's all in the beholder, right? I mean, as you say,
yeah, actually, the painting behind me, my sister did it, or the drawing behind me. And when she was telling me what it was about, I was like, oh, you're wrong.
That's only her perception, right? You got your own.
I like mine better.
I've heard from people who know that it doesn't matter what a painting costs or what it looks like. The person, it's just something that happens when, like Pat and I view a painting.
Yeah.
We like it and perhaps can't elucidate clearly, but there's some emotional reaction, and that's what someone told me was, that's okay. You like it?
Yeah.
That's all.
That's what it's supposed to be. It's supposed to mean something to you as an individual, I think. Yeah. But it's fascinating to listen to her tell you about the painting. I just enjoy that.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah. But like I say, that one I said is really obvious. You don't have to worry about that one. Figure 24 on 103. That's my kind. Nice and simple. Got it.
Well, whereas I like the simplicity of 23 on 103 or 24 on 103.
Yeah.
But I really like the depth and the I don't know how to describe it, but the art and the perspective in number 25. I just think that it's wonderfully done with the room and its walls and the beam ceilings and the figures. It just so nicely portrayed.
I agree with you. It's not as simple, but it's definitely pretty.
Yeah.
One of the things I see in common with all these is that Mary is at prayer. She's reading, she's studying. And, you know, this is the first time I've, you know, in my life or my study of the Bible or Christianity, that I've seen it pictured in this way. You know, if I were just to read the verse in the Bible, I say, you know, Mary's just sitting there, you know, making bread or whatever she was doing, and all of a sudden the angel comes around. But evidently the people that are depicting her are trying to show her reverence or devotion that she has already. And I had never thought about that before, but evidently in the medieval mind, you know, she was already devoted to God. Perhaps this is a good way to look at things, but it just surprised me that's a common theme here, you know, going forward, that she was already engaged, she was already devoted, and then this message came along. I always thought that, you know, boy, it's a surprise, you know, wow, here comes the angel, and man, this is really something I hadn't expected, and so it just, you know, I'm just sort of looking at the you know, the feeling of the perception of the medieval Renaissance viewer, or you know, Renaissance person, that, you know, that Mary was reverent and already devoted to God. So
I always thought that's why she found favor with God, you know, because she was already devoted and you know, prayerful and that kind of thing.
That's a really good point. I hadn't thought of that. That's a really good point.
I could be wrong, but you know, I think the Catholics believe that there are actually two people that were born without original sin, and one is Jesus, but one is Mary. Is that right? Yeah. So in other words, Mary had been selected before she was born. I mean, you know, in God's grand picture, she was selected. She was going to be the mother of his child. So she was born without original sin. And then, you know, so I mean, her whole life, this was planned. This was going to happen.
Is there anything in the Bible that indicates that, though?
Not that
I don't think so.
No, it's just like one of the many things scholars through
Nothing that indicates Mary's ascension either.
Yeah, the assumption of the Virgin.
The assumption, I mean.
Yeah.
And yet that's a strongly held belief of Roman Catholic Church. And many Episcopalians believe it also. So there are things not in Scripture that people do hold on to, believe, create. But
She must have been an easy child to parent.
Except when she said, Mom and Dad, don't tell me what to do.
And she got pregnant at 13.
Yeah. So Malvina must be speaking personally when she said that.
Maybe not.
But the doctrine of the Immaculate Conception does refer to Mary's birth, not to Jesus' birth. Immaculate Conception is Mary being conceived immaculately. Joaquin and, was it Anna, didn't do the deed to have their daughter, according to the beliefs as promulgated by the Roman Catholic Church, and thus most of Christianity for many centuries.
That's interesting. I'd never heard that.
Yeah, me either.
A lot of Catholic friends here.
For me, these pictures are interesting just because Mary is so calm. She doesn't seem perplexed at the words in the paintings.
That's a good observation.
Yeah.
That's a very good observation.
Yeah.
And in some of them, she doesn't look 14. Or, how old was she? 14?
Right around there, yeah. That's the belief. Of course, what is
never heard that.
like when you only live to 30 or 33 or whatever?
Yeah.
It's middle age.
Yeah.
Interesting.
There she does. 14.
All right. Let's move on to chapter 21. Would anyone like to volunteer to read that one?
It's short, I'll read it.
Okay.
Her husband Joseph, being a righteous man and unwilling to expose her to public disgrace, planned to dismiss her quietly. But just when he had resolved to do this, an angel of the Lord appeared to him in a dream and said, Joseph, son of David, do not be afraid to take Mary as your wife, for the child conceived in her is from the Holy Spirit. She will bear a son, and you will name him Jesus, for he will save the people from their sins.
So the author of this, the book, she talks about dreams and how angels often visit in dreams, and how some dreams are just us trying to process something that's happened, and some dreams are God dreams. So I want to know if you guys have ever had a God dream, or a dream that you believe was not created by your own mind. And another question attached to that is, how can we decipher if the dreams are sent by God or whether it's just our own mind trying to figure things out?
I've never had a God dream that I can recollect. I think I would remember.
Yeah, you'd remember.
I feel like I did when I was, how old was I? I think I was like 13 or 14. There was just a lot of stuff going on at home, and I was like, you know, it was just a struggle, and I had a really close relationship with God then. And I remember what one night, there was a huge window, and the moon would always fall on my bed. And every night I would pray, and this night it was like a full moon, and I was just like praying and, you know, praying for my family, praying and for us to heal. And then all of a sudden, I guess with like Mary's perplexity, but mostly fear, I felt a presence, and I was very fearful. It didn't say anything. It was just a feeling. But then all of a sudden, it's like my body relaxed because it recognized like love, and like I just was able to recognize intuitively like this is something not of my own and nothing to be afraid of, but it is magnificent. And then it felt like a blanket just covered me, and I fell asleep, and I had just, I guess what we're talking about, a God dream, right? It was pretty incredible. And what's really interesting about that particular dream is, you know, when deciphering whether it's like, you know, whether it was something I made up, right, or something that's actually so, I have found it really interesting that as I've like, this was what, like when I was 14, right, or 13, like as I've done certain things in my life, I get like deja vu, right, as we all do. But there's a distinction when I feel deja vu, like, oh yeah, I've done that before. And then when I like, I'm in a moment and I feel deja vu, but it's a snapshot of that dream, you know, and it's like, it's for me, it's very, I feel like that's God reassuring me from a young age, right? Maybe just letting me know how things might turn out. And I don't remember it all. But what I do remember is when things in that dream appear to me in real life, like it's occurring, I know that it's the dream, and I feel assured, and like, and I feel accompanied by, you know, like that God is walking with me. I guess that would be my only experience, but it was pretty incredible.
Thank you so much.
Yes, interesting.
I think it's really amazing. Wow, you know, to have that experience. I had one kind of similar to that when my dad was having a really serious operation, and it was it was like I must have been about your age, Zoshia. Maybe I was 13, 14. I can't really recall. Maybe a little younger, but you know, I remember going out and the sun was going down, and I was just praying that my dad would make it through this operation and so forth. And all of a sudden, this feeling of peace came over me, and that I knew that, you know, things were going to be okay. And you know, I think we really need to, if you have this experience, and I'm glad you brought it up, Jill, because we need to remind ourselves about these experiences that we have in order to continue to renew our faith. But you know, I had kind of the same thing. You know, this feeling of peace comes over me, and I didn't have a dream or anything like after that. But I do remember this you know, this feeling of peace, that everything would be okay, and it was. My dad came through the operation in not in great shape, but at any rate, he was able to recover well. So thank you for reminding me of this experience in my life. I appreciate that.
Yeah, I don't think I've shared that very much with people, but I'm glad I could share it here.
The first time I've shared it with anybody. You know, so you know, I mean, I haven't. I don't think I've ever shared it with anybody. Never. You know, but I do remember that night, and I remember where the sun looked when it was going down. That's indelibly, and I know exactly where I was standing. It's indelibly etched in my mind.
Still got her head down.
I think I have also had, so I when I dream, I'm really practical. I don't have kind of out there dreams. But I had one dream. I had just found out I was pregnant with Wyatt. And I had a dream that I was flying, and I looked over and I saw a it looked like a knight all in black with on a black horse and wings. And I thought, oh my God, it's the angel of death. And I freaked out, and I started trying to fly away as quickly as I could. And as he approached, I got this feeling of calm, and it was like, oh, it's okay. He's not here to harm me. He's going to help me. And then I woke up. And 2 weeks later, I was in a car accident.
Oh, me.
And the car, I mean, it had some serious damage, but I was fine. And I had just dropped John off at school, so he wasn't in the car. And it kind of got the ball rolling for us to, or for me and the kids to be here. Because the school Jonathan was going to go to, I couldn't use the car to drive him there, and it was 45 minutes away. So he had to be closer. And I don't know what how to decipher that, but just the calm that was associated with seeing him coming closer and knowing it was going to be okay. And I remember that. I usually don't remember my dreams at all. Maybe I'm crazy.
Well, I don't know. Are we supposed to agree with that or not?
Pregnant women have a lot of bizarre dreams because there's movement inside your body, and even your subconscious mind senses that. So that's really typical during pregnancy.
Mm-hmm. Or maybe because I was pregnant, I was more aware spiritually.
Yeah.
Because there's another life around you. Me, I don't know.
So that must have been Marvin.
Maybe it was Marvin, yeah. I forgot to let you guys know before we continue that most of the paintings in this book are from the Getty Center. So once COVID is over, hopefully over soon, you can actually go and see them. They're pretty close. Sorry, maybe when you visit.
Well, when are we going to have a field trip? You can take us.
Yeah. Any day. I don't have a bus though.
Well, I'm not sure we want you to drive either after hearing.
There are a bunch of people who would agree with you. Marvin is one of them.
In this passage that was read, one thing that maybe you all noted too, but the word Lord is there, the word Holy Spirit is there, and the word Jesus is there. I really like to see or sense the expression of the Trinity in the New Testament, or the Old Testament for that matter.
I hadn't noticed that.
Mm-hmm.
So when we do have these dreams, how do we decipher whether it's from God or just our own psyche?
I think it's like that thing that we were expressing. I don't think that you really truly can. I think there's like a few elements to it. I think a lot of it is that trust, right? Because I think sometimes when these things occur, like you said, Malvina, maybe you were open to it because you were with life, and maybe you and I, it's Dale, right? Is
Yeah.
that okay? We're open to it because we were so young, and we were just so purely wanting and praying for something, like
Yeah,
children do, right?
Yeah. With
And
faith. Yeah.
right, like just really like with no blocks in that moment. I think it's like when, like, knowing the place that you're at, and like that's one, and then two, like the trust that you like, that relationship you have with God, and then three, I think is just like your gut, right? Like that peacefulness or whatever, like your gut just knows. and in trusting that. I think it's trusting that. And I think
No more paper.
that's the only way I can say, like, when you have that feeling that you may have had that experience, you know, like if you just be quiet and sit in it, then that in itself will lend its answer to you intuitively. Because, like, you know, I think all of us have had some sort of experience with God, right, in our lives in some way or another. And I think a lot of us explaining whether God was there or not, or whether it was luck or what, you know, just happenstance, I think comes down to trusting that intuition that we had in that moment. You know, I think, I don't know, that would be that's my thought on that.
Well, I think when you're younger, it's a little easier to trust. I think that you made a really good point there. You know, I didn't have a lot of the hang-ups.
Right.
13,
Exactly.
14 that I've accumulated over the years.
Exactly. Same here.
So it was a little bit easier to trust at that time, and that's a good thing. That's why, you know, Jesus says, "Let the little children come unto me." You know, you won't enter the kingdom of God unless you enter like a little child, and it's something we got to keep in mind. But I can pretty well tell which dreams are from God and which ones aren't, because I mean, I have some weird dreams happening. Like she's talking about leaving the laundry in front of the sanctuary and stuff. I mean, I have some stuff that's really goes really weird things. So I can pretty well tell. And I don't have many dreams. I like Ted. I don't think I've had many dreams from God. They just haven't occurred.
Seems to me that both with Dale's and Zoshil's dreams, it was a follow-up to prayer for someone else. And I think sometimes that's what characterizes God coming to us when we're open, because we're not just thinking about us. You know, I mean, lots of kids have fallen asleep praying for a pony or a good grade on the test tomorrow or whatever it might be, or for a boy or a girl to like them back. But you were praying for people you cared about, and you were being selfless. And I think, yes, you'd get a benefit. If your dad lived, there would be a benefit to you. If your family did well, there would be a benefit to you. But it wasn't for yourself. It was for someone else. And I think that's one of the ways we also know that it's from God. Because, you know, like when I have those not so great dreams, it's all tied up with me and my weirdness. And when I have a sense of God's presence, it's when I've gotten out of myself. I think that matters.
That's a really good point. Yeah, you're right.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the main point, it kind of has followed us through the hour, is to listen.
Yeah.
Yeah, not to react, but to with emotions right away, but to listen with an open mind and heart.
That was an hour, and we actually only got through like 3-4 chapters.
Well, I tell you, Malvina, you got to do better than this.
I'm sorry.
You're really falling down. Whoa.
Great to have all this back.
Well, we got through 5 today. We only have 28 for next week.
Okay.
I think it was so fascinating, though, to talk about it and to hear everybody's stuff. And if we're just running through the book, I don't think we're getting any of that. So I'd much rather be slow than rush and not get anything. I don't, personally,
I agree.
So I think it's
same
fine.
here.
Navina, do you suggest we go 5 chapters or 6, or what? Do you have some thoughts on that?
I think just we should just go as far as we can.
Okay.
So maybe if you're wondering how far to read, perhaps maybe read the next
Read 10
5.
in case.
Yeah, okay, yeah, read 10 just in case. But I would say 5 or 6. I mean,
It'll never hurt us to have to read them again before the next one, but This is the tortoise book study. Slow and steady wins the race.
Yeah, yeah.
We all decided we probably have enough time that we don't have to rush through it and be done by next Sunday.
There you
Yeah.
go.
Good.
Okay.
And
I
there,
also think it's really nice because I miss seeing everybody and actually getting to talk to you all. So
Yes.
this actually gives us
Oh,
an
boy,
opportunity
do I
to do
miss
that.
it.
and I'm not saying this is a selfish thing on your part, Malvina, but you also have the kind of kids corralled for an hour so that you don't have hugging, mom, mom, mom.
Jonathan is happy. He gets an extra hour of screen time. So
Perfect.
Perfect.
Okay. Well, everybody's
you
doing
all.
okay?
Yep. Okay. Better than okay. Fantastico.
Okay.
Fantastico, muy bien.
Ah.
Okay.
Well, for those who weren't on the worship this morning, we won't name names, but just put your heads down. We'll know who you were. Okay. The total damage to the church came in at right around $1,500, which isn't too bad.
Mm-mm.
And we're going to get a new sound system out of it, a new receiver, I guess it is, with the two little thingies. And
And then
what I didn't say earlier, and that is that
speakers.
the one we were using was on and I don't understand any of this, but it was on a 600 wavelength or a thingy or whatever it's called. And supposedly starting 2 years ago, we weren't supposed to be using 600 or 700 in that kind of setting anymore. And so we really should have changed anyway. So the new one we get will not be in that old, whatever it is. I don't know what those things are even called.
Yeah.
So that's a good thing. And
Wave.
the front door of the church is now chained and barred. And I don't think it can be opened in any way, shape, or form. And that's one of the things I thought of earlier when you said, Pat, well, you know, I can leave my sound equipment at the church. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, oh no, something more that could be damaged. But I think it is safe now. Anyway, we'll have a few weeks to find out.
How about the side door though, Father?
Well, to get to the side door, they've got to come over the fence.
Okay.
The fence does have those little pointy things on top, the little
That's true.
arrows. I think that a young, lithe teenager could do that
Yeah.
well, but I don't think anybody on here right now is going to want to be jumping over that fence.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and then they have to come through a solid, because the doors on the side are also solid. There are no hollow core doors.
Okay.
They all have the coverings over the place where the latch is, so you can't just stick a credit card in.
Okay.
Now you could
Good.
break the window, but those are also fairly thick stained glass windows. You know, they're not just glass either. They're cement, isn't it? Isn't it cement in there, Kathy? That you,
Sand cast. They're about this thick.
Yeah.
They're very thin.
yeah, they're pretty strong. So, I mean, somebody could get in if somebody wants to get in and has
We're
unlimited time.
gonna do it.
But
Yeah.
we're also going to have within, I hope, 10 days, we're going to have a security system up that'll capture anybody who gets in on
Good.
film, and it will be sent to the cloud. So even if they were to damage the cameras, once they're on there, they're on there. So I don't know. I think we'll be in better shape than we have been for a while, and I think that's going to be good. So,
That's great.
and then let's see what else is new that we believe as of now we can start worship on the 21st. We're going to start up outside, and we're going to practice physical distancing and communion in a slightly different way, but we will have communion, and we were talking about not doing any kind of hospitality, and then someone suggested today, it might have been Marcia, I'm not sure, somebody said, well, what if we brought our own stuff?
No,
Who was that?
it was
Marty.
I knew it was
It was
an MAR.
Marty.
Yeah, it was an MAR person. So
Hey, Marvin.
it's either Mary or Marvin or Marty or Marcia.
One of those.
we may do that. Everybody will come with their little picnic basket and not share.
Ruined it.
Yeah.
Oh, there it is.
Figure that out. But anyway, we're looking forward to it. It's only 3 weeks away. And so that's a good thing. But everybody has to understand that those of you, and that's everybody here except for Malvina and Zoshil, is invited not to come to church. Because you're old.
Because you're old.
Yeah, you're old. So, and vulnerable. And so, but I hope you do come, but you're invited not to.
You know, Father, this is an opportunity. I look at this as another opportunity. Obviously, in the marketing business, you're always looking for marketing opportunities.
Yeah.
And the thing is that if in fact St. John's does a good job of its social distancing and setup and everything else, and this is recorded on Zoom, which other people can view, then it offers an opportunity, and this will probably be put on the website.
Yep.
On a continuing basis, where if you want to tune in and see what's going on at St. John's on a Sunday, you'll be able to anonymously log in and view that. So the thing is, it's an opportunity for others that
Sure.
are not currently members of St. John's to see how it's all done. And if it's done right, you know, if we're practicing social distancing and doing everything in a correct manner from a health standpoint, I think that speaks well for the church. And so I look at it as an opportunity to really show the community, you know, what St. John's is all about. So
Well, I think that's a good point. And you are a marketing guru, especially when compared to me. So I'm glad to hear that.
Father, I'd be a marketing guru if I was rich.
Oh,
I just have to market opinions.
you have the knowledge. The knowledge.
Yeah. Opinions don't make you rich.
Oh, too bad.
Being a guru does. So I've just got some opinions. That's all.
Okay. Nice to see John in the background there. Hello, John.
Hi,
John,
John.
good to
He's
see you.
waiting. He's waiting.
All right. Boy, I tell you, nobody has men surrounding her quite like Pam. Started off today with her grandson, Ian, and now she's got John. I mean, it's amazing, just amazing. So anyway, you all stay healthy and well. We'll meet again like this next Sunday. And if you can and you feel like it, tune in at 10 o'clock. We'll do worship again.
Okay. Thank you all.
Okay,
Next week is
Bye.
Sunday.
everybody have a fine week.
It's Trinity Sunday.
Trinity Sunday.
And I know that
This week.
Ted will be looking for all those references to the Trinity. He's already told us. And this is when I used to be rector and I had an assistant, I would always have them preach on Trinity Sundays.
I've already written my article for the newsletter about Trinity Sunday.
Oh, good.
Oh,
I'll
good.
read that in advance in preparation then.
Okay, it's got some really good things in it.
Good. Okay.
I
Well,
always love what you write, Diana.
Oh, thank you, Malvina.
yeah, it's good. Excellent. Okay.
The things on the missions have been really interesting.
Yes,
Oh.
it is. Yeah, very nice.
That wasn't even my idea. I don't know who, somebody suggested it to, I forget somebody, anyway, and then I said I do it.
And then you'll
Yeah,
get leads.
Kim asked you to do that.
Kim, yeah, Kim.
It's good.
Leaders lead.
All right. Marcia's trying to wipe us out, so.
Well, you know what? I'm dropping in and out, so I didn't hear the last, 2 or 3 minutes.
We
So-
were talking about the angel Marvin.
We were not.
She's out again, I think. Okay.
Yeah, I
All
get
right.
it.
I'm going to push end, so we're all going to have
Okay.
a try.
All right.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.